Welcome to Whisky.com. My name is Lüning, Horst Lüning, and I'm the master taster of Whisky.com. Today we taste the Armorik double matured single malt whiskey from Brittany. So we're inside France. Brittany is the area south of the Normandy, where in the Second World War the Allied troops invaded into France. And in 2013, last year, I visited those beaches, Omaha Beach, Utah Beach, an impressive museum over there. Yes, and I did not have the time to go down to Brittany to visit the Warenheim distillery. Warenheim yes, distillery. The distillery is quite old now, not quite old, has several years into production. There is a regular filling of the Armorik. I have to taste some time in the future, and there are always, in the last 2-3 years, particular bottlings with a special kind of maturation or a cask strength or whatever are available. And this one is a double maturation, first matured in Brittany casks, oak casks. So the oak trees grew in that area, rain and a lot of wind, and so those oak trees develop a different aroma than the typically American white oak, which is used by the Scottish whiskey producers for maturation of 90% of their whiskies. So this whiskey is unchill filtered. It's bottled with 46 ABV, so strong enough for not developing a haze when the bottle is getting cold. Great whiskies come from great craftsmanship. The single malt Armorik whiskey acquires its unique and subtle taste from the combination of a double distillation and carefully selected casks, allied to the passion of the master blender for finding the perfect balance of flavors. So this card box is for all whiskies from Warenheim. And so they say the double distillation, not to bother with the double maturation. And here in this cut area there's an inlay in it where it tells what the double maturation means. Heir to a century-old craft. Yeah, they're not that old, they're not a century old, but it's a heir to a century-old craft. The Warenheim distillery has cultivated its unique character from the sheer passion of the men and women passing their know-how down the generations. It brings you more than 100 years of wisdom bottled into high-quality Breton spirits. Yeah, here we have it. The distillery is distilling whiskey for only a decade or 1.5 decades now. But there was a distillery before on that place, and they are doing something like Calvados. No, it's more in the north, but other spirits. So they know how to distill. So the double maturation means first is aged in Breton oak casks and afterwards in sherry casks. Rich and fruity on the nose, Armorik double maturation reveals hints of citrus, apple and spices emphasized by the sherry. The long finish is floral with a touch of chocolate. In 2 languages, French as well as English. In the Celtic land of Brittany. So Breton, La Bretagne, is Celtic. So there's this tale of Asterix and Obelix. So it's Celtic. Okay. Here's the same one, unchill filtered. Oh, this cork is not a natural cork. It's no plastic, but it's made out of very small cork chips. And this is an advantage because the normal corks, the natural corks, they may develop this TCA aroma, which is very, very bad. And you say this wine has a cork in it. So whiskey is also possible to have a cork aroma in it. Then it's bad. You have to give it back and get a new bottle. But these corks out of small cork parts, they typically do not develop this TCA aroma. Very fruity, and there's a different aroma to the Scotch whiskies in this one, and this might come from these Breton oak casks. So if you have these Limousin casks, typically you use for the wine barrique maturation, then you have a much stronger influence from the oak, and therefore this barrique maturation is not longer than half or a complete year. Then you have to stop it, otherwise the aroma transfer into the wine is much too strong. And here you have this strong aroma coming from the oak, and this intermixes with the fruity and rich aromas. And there's the citrus in it, there's vanilla in it, there is toffee from the toasted oak in it. And the longer you nose in it, the less you feel the cask, then the fruity aromas develop more. Have a first sip. Very strong oak in it, covers your mouth. Oh, strong oakiness, and spices develop. The aftertaste is quite intense, and this light chocolate is developing. It comes from the oak. The sherry intermixes quite well. There's this fruitiness, but you can't distinguish and say, well, this is Pedro Jimenez or Oloroso sherry or whatever. It just resides in the complete whiskey. Typically, those whiskies without an age from unknown or smaller distilleries are quite young, because they typically have problems building up huge stocks of maturing whiskey in the startup phase. So I would say this whiskey isn't too old, but the casks have already taken over, because you have this strong Brittany casks and the strong sherry casks. So they have transferred a lot of aromas into the raw whiskey, so that the youthness of the whiskey is covered quite well by this oakiness. Yeah, well done. It might be not easy to get your fingers or your hands on such a bottle wherever you live in the world. This distillery is quite young in respect to whiskey, and does not have a high output. So it might be impossible to get your fingers or your hands on such a bottle somewhere remote on the world, in in the world. Thank you for watching and stay tuned at Whisky.com.